What's up, guys? So in one of my previous videos, I had mentioned something about heavyweights and how heavyweights don't have to have as many fights, and it's usually easier route for them to get signed to a big organization. And someone asked me to expand more on that and do a video about it. So basically, it's multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons why is that the heavyweight division, the talent pool is not deep. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to heavyweights. I'm just saying most heavyweights are playing other sports. Most heavyweights that could be a high-level UFC fighter are in the NFL or in the NBA or in Major League Baseball even. I think that other sports, basketball, football, they definitely require more athleticism than being a fighter. I don't believe they're as tough as we are, for sure. I don't think that, and I know they don't have to work. I don't think they have to work as hard. But if you're a heavyweight and you have the possibility of playing in the NFL or going to the UFC, most people is going to take the NFL route. The money is so much better. Why wouldn't they? So that's a major issue, is that the talent pool is not deep. If you look at the talent pool of the UFC 145, 155 pound division, 170 pound, it's deep. There's guys lined up waiting to get in. There's plenty of regional scene guys that are really good. That are just waiting on their chance, right? In the heavyweight division, there's just not as many talented guys that have been training for a long time, that have years of doing this since they were kids. That matters. They've been playing other sports. If you think about it, go in the UFC heavyweights. Most of them, for the most part, are very polished. They're very technical. They have real good skills, right? But go look at your regional scene guys. Go look at the regional scene heavyweights and see what they look like. Most are sloppy. There's fat. They're out of shape. They swinging wild. There's no technique. And that's because they're just it's just there's not a ton. There's not a ton of guys that fight heavyweight that have a goal of being in the UFC or have the ability to, because those guys that have the ability to are in other sports. And I'm speaking mostly from an American perspective, because other organizations do have, other countries do have deeper talent pools of heavyweights, it seems like. It seems like that. Brazil, Russia, even the UK has some good options of heavyweights. The dude who won the UFC belt was Tom Aspinall or whatever his name is. He's a guy that clearly a heavyweight that's extremely polished, been training his whole life, world-class technique. But in America, those same caliber of people are playing other sports because it's in every school, and also there's just more money in it. So that's a big reason why. Also, guys, not to bash on heavyweights, but it's also crazy that a lot of heavyweights just don't work hard. Throughout my years of training, I've trained with multiple heavyweights, and I'll be honest with you, it seemed like to me none of them had great work ethic. And probably because a lot of that is because their game is so dependent on power. Like everybody in the heavyweight division has knockout power. Everybody can knock out the other person. That's not true in all the other weight classes. Anybody can get knocked out, obviously, right? But everybody's not a knockout puncher at the 135 pound, 155 pound divisions. But everybody in the heavyweight division is. In lighter weight classes, you may have 20% of guys that are big time punchers, and the other 80% are just, they have to hit you super flush. When heavyweights, they don't even got to get hit flush. They just got to get hit, and the fight can be over. So a lot of that is probably why they don't train as hard as I think they should. I remember back when I was coming up, people would always talk about Cain Velasquez and how much he worked and how hard he worked. And he was obviously, one of the best UFC fighters probably in the last 20 years. He was, a world champion. He was a smaller guy. He wasn't a big heavyweight. Maybe that's part of the reason why he worked harder. I don't know. But also, I don't know if he worked harder than everyone in the gym. and I wasn't in the room, so I don't train with those guys. So I didn't train at his camp. I was never at AKA. But did he work harder than the 135 pounder in the gym? I don't know. But I saw someone one time say something about, they said, well, Cain Velasquez is just a heavyweight with lightweight work ethic. And that definitely makes sense, because I don't know any heavyweights that I've ever trained with in my life that even, definitely they didn't work harder than the 135 pounder. They just didn't. I mean, maybe their body won't allow them to do that. I don't know, because I'm not a heavyweight. But I think a lot of the heavyweights that do make it to the UFC, that some of them probably aren't very athletic at all, but those are the ones with the good work ethic, is probably the ones that are the least athletic in the heavyweight division, I would say. And I would say the more athletic, the less they train, probably. I mean, it matters. Athleticism matters, size matters, speed, skills. It matters less in fighting sports than it does in other sports, obviously. Like if you're trying to be a running back in the NFL and you can't run a 4.4, 4.3 40, you're probably not getting in at a skill position, right? Or free safety or cornerback or something. So it matters more in those other sports, but it still matters in fighting as well. But yeah, heavyweights, it's different. It's the division's not deep. There's not a lot of competition for an elite level fighter. There's not a lot of competition at the regional level for elite level heavyweights. But for even elite level 155er, there's still a lot of competition at the regional level, because there's more fighters and more depth. So it's just easier. They don't have to have as many fights. They make it to a big organization. They usually get paid more. It's just, the perks of being a heavyweight, guys. A lot of the people I know coming up and fighting wishes that we pretty much all wish we were heavyweights, because they train the least and they don't diet anywhere near as much as anybody else in any other weight class. Half of them don't diet at all. They just walk around between 205 to 265, and they fight at their walk around weights, and they get to eat whatever they want, and they don't even train. They don't have to train as hard, because so much of their game is dependent on power. So that's kind of my reason, why I believe it's easier to go farther as a heavyweight in a faster time period, and the competition is not as deep, and it's can be easier to be heavyweight. All right, guys, let me know leave any comments, any videos you would like me to go over in upcoming videos, any subjects you would like me to go over. And if you're new to martial arts, looking for a book, looking for a good guide to finding a martial arts school near you, get my book, The Ultimate Guide to Choosing Your Martial Arts School and Instructor. It's on Amazon for $4.99, very cheap. All right, thank you, guys.